So what is up guys, Nick here helping you to master your technology. iPhone XR, why should you choose this over some cheaper Android devices? So I've been thinking about, how this year pretty much everybody seems to be making a flagship like cheaper Android phone or trying to be that, and you could just consider getting an older iPhone, and I think the XR is one of those that kind of slots in that area. I want to explain to you why it's better than most of those cheaper Android phones. Not all of them, most of them. Okay, so the top 3 reasons I have, number 1 are the colors. There's a lot of really good colors. Next up is the iOS support, really strong. You can't really match this on a lot of other phones. And the performance with the Apple A12 Bionic, and the iOS, it's just really strong overall optimization for this phone. So those are the top 3 reasons why I think this one is still a pretty good buy. But moving on to the design of the iPhone XR. Now this one right here, still thicker bezels. I mean, just look at them. On the sides, they are thicker. The notch is there. But the phone overall, if you kind of look at it, it still has a modern looking iPhone feel. Like, it's not like super outdated looking. If you were using this now, it's not gonna look like you're using a super old iPhone. It just doesn't look that way just yet. Now, comparatively to the 3 cameras on the iPhone 12 Pro and Pro Max, yeah, this looks a little bit old. But overall, I will say it's not that bad. Even now, it still has a pretty simple, clean iPhone design. The build of this phone is just strong. You can see right here, we do have the aluminum build, glass on the back, glass on the front. This was aimed to be a cheaper flagship when it did come out, so it still feels a lot stronger built than most of the cheaper Android phones you'll buy in this price range today. So the reason I'm saying in this price range is the XR didn't originally start at the price that most of these mid-rangers cost now, but at this point you can get this phone at around a similar price as those. That's what I'm trying to get at here. And the build on this will be quite a bit better here. And you can also get an older Android phone that was a flagship, but that phone is likely not as well supported as the iPhone XR. So you're getting pretty good build overall here on this phone. Very sturdy and strong feeling. Okay, so things like a Galaxy A52, A72, other A series devices will give you OLED displays. And many other Android phones, cheaper Android phones, will give you like an OLED display, so it can be a better display on those phones for color and saturation. However, most of them won't give you as much usable brightness as the iPhone XR. 625 nits means that the actual user brightness is pretty darn high. Most of those phones top out in the 400 range of nits, and some of those do have sunlight modes and modes that'll make them brighter outside. But the iPhone XR here definitely gives you a lot of user brightness where you can just control it yourself. So I do like that. And while this does have a lower res display, it helps with the battery life, and most people don't seem to care about that much at all. So XR has a pretty good overall display, I would say, for the money, even though you have thicker, bezels. I don't see it being a huge problem. Many people, millions that have bought this phone, don't really care either. So it's a pretty decent display for, if you find this in the like $280 to $300 range. It's not that bad, it really isn't. And now the software. Here is the best thing about buying an older iPhone, is that you're still getting the same software that somebody who just paid $1,200 is gonna get on their iPhone. So you don't have to feel like you're left out. And the iPhone XR, because it does have a really strong CPU, I think this one will still get at least 2 more major updates. It might even get 3. It's still a very good performer. I don't really see any major chokes or anything like that happening on this phone. It's still getting a lot of updates. I think I forgot to do the 0.2 update, but 14.5 is on the way, so I'm a little bit behind on this one. But overall, it's doing very well in everyday usage. So overall, having all the same modern touches to the software is definitely something that gives the iPhone XR an edge over some cheaper Android phones that within a year or so, maybe even 2, they'll just be out of software support. And because they're making so many of those, and Apple only has fewer amount of devices, those phones, even though they will get updates, it will take a lot longer to get updates. And performance, all you have to do is watch my previous video on the XR versus the OnePlus 9, and you'll see that it still can hang with the fastest Android phones in the game. Imagine this going up against the cheaper Android phones. It's not even going to be a contest, because if this can hang with the premium boys, it's definitely going to take down the cheaper boys in the Android games. So definitely very good here in everyday performance. You can even play all of your games that you enjoy playing on the day-to-day. You can open up applications, multiple ones at a time. It doesn't reload too much. I mean, if you get way too many, like 10 or 12 applications, yeah, it's gonna reload a few. But I would say overall it does pretty fantastic in everyday, just day-to-day app opening tasks, things you actually do on your iPhone every single day. Next up, the battery versus cheaper Android phones. Now, this is an area where the XR is not really a king because those phones are often getting large batteries these days, and because they're lower spec, they can't outlast this in some areas. However, keep in mind that the XR, due to its optimization, does have some of the best standby time. Usage time, it's pretty good too. I have never able to kill the iPhone XR in one day, so I don't think you will either. And because this is not running 5G, this actually gets better battery life than even the iPhone 12. So strong battery life compared to a lot of cheaper Android phones, but those do compete pretty well here. The fact is, you're still getting similar battery life to some of those mid-rangers that are pushing less specs because of how well optimized this is, and because of the lower res screen, and because it's not running 5G. So thumbs up. Nice size battery in here, and it does pretty well in actual real world use with very good standby time. And the camera with the iPhone XR, yeah, it's a single lens. It doesn't have 4, it doesn't have 18 lenses, but what it does have is a very reliable camera for the day-to-day. And compared to cheap Android phones where it really does shine, I don't think photos so much is where it really crushes them, it's the video. So the actual video quality of this phone is kind of hard to beat. Because why do I say this? Mostly because it's focus. It focuses perfectly well, no focus hunting. It gives you a result that you would probably want to tweak to get in some pro modes on some cheaper Android phones. So it's just really a good overall video camera, and it can do 4K 60. This is an area where a lot of mid-rangers or cheaper Android devices will make cuts, is in the 4K 60 department. They usually top out at 4K 30, but you can see right here, just by a single tap, I can go to 4K 60, and you even have a cinematic mode on here at 4K 24. That's something you don't see on a lot of Android phones either. And in photos, it does pretty well here as well. However, you know, the digital zoom is pretty weak on this phone. There's no wide angle, so you have to actually step back physically to get a wide angle shot, and there's no night mode. So there's more features on the mid-rangers. They're more fun to use than the iPhone XR, but the XR is going to give you many times better actual results. So do you care more about the features, the fun, or do you care more about the actual results? Because at this price point that you can get these now for, I think this is a darn good camera. You want night mode, all you have to do is go ahead and download an application that will provide that. And when it comes to audio, okay, so let's just begin with the key specifications that matter here with the iPhone. Because the iPhone XR was more of a flagship-like device, this phone actually has better audio than what you'll find on more budget range devices. They will throw in stereo speakers, even like on the A52. Samsung will throw in, you know, cheaper stereo speakers than they put on their S line. They're not quite as loud. Whereas the XR is going to give you very nice and loud stereo speakers. And remember, that's because this wasn't designed as a mid-ranger, it wasn't designed as a cheaper phone, but you're getting it at those prices now. Keep that in mind when watching this video. So definitely very good stereo sound. Now, where the iPhone XR falls flat on its feet is in the mobile performance. This thing is just not the best here. It doesn't have the best overall phone calls. It doesn't have the best overall performance when it comes to mobile. The signal strength is not the strongest I've seen, so I can't say it's so much better here. And this is mostly due to Intel modems, but you have to think about, is the sacrifices versus these cheaper Android phones worth this one area? And this is only really going to affect people who live in the most weakest areas or locale where they don't have the best signal strength. So not the best radios here in the iPhone XR. But in conclusion, the iPhone XR versus cheaper Android phones. Now, I'm not singling out the A52. This is not a comparison to this phone just because I'm putting it here. This is just a cheap Android phone that I have on standby. I'm talking about this versus other cheaper Android phones from like Realme, Xiaomi, you know, other brands like that. You can consider this older, you know, iPhone over those if you want a longer and more reliable experience in terms of the camera, you know, just having longer software support. However, I will caution against the iPhone XR. If you want more features, you want more fun, I think the A52, the A line, is more fun to use than the XR. If you want more, you want OLED, get one of these. if you want, you know, just you want customization, you want theming options, and you want to replace your phone, you know, more often, and you don't really care about the software updates, then I would say get an A series phone, get a cheaper, you know, Android phone. But versus I think the 10R still holds up pretty well against these phones these days. So it's an alternative option from Apple before you go buy, you know, that cheaper Android phone. So do keep that in mind. Anyway, if you found this video helpful, entertaining, informing, do me a favor, click that like button for me. Subscribe if you haven't already. We got many more videos coming to you. I will catch you all in the next episode. Nick here. Be sure to be well and peace.